What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about ZBCN today. Zebec. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it. It's the 20th day of June here, and here we are at about $0.0039 with 6 hours, 35 minutes left in the day. Moving down a little bit, down not even 4%. It's nothing too crazy. It's about to get crazier. We do have lower to go. Absolutely, we do. I had somebody, one of these technical experts in the comments, was telling me, it seems to be holding this area of support rather well. I don't think we're going to break below it. If we were going to break below it, we would have done it already. Let me educate you. Let me educate you, okay? Not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but let me educate you here. I'm genuinely trying to help, okay? This is not condescending. This is genuine knowledge that I want to share with you. This is finding support. This is holding areas of support well. This is not. That is not. Just because you're here day in and day out and you haven't moved lower does not mean that you're finding support here well. That's not what's happening, right? This is resistance. This is resistance. You didn't grind out those areas. No. This is grinding. When you grind, you break through, right? That's just kind of what happens. So, not financial advice, not a financial advisor. If you're ever looking at a situation like this, you're in a downtrend, and it's not 100% of the time. It's not a guarantee. Technical analysis is not about guarantees. It's about statistical probabilities, okay? But whenever you grind out like this, when you're getting a strong reaction off this area, a weaker reaction, that was a stronger reaction in all fair off this area, but then inevitably just a weak reaction like this, just dying off, you're likely going to break through. It should be no surprise at all that the price is moving down right now. If you are surprised, just understand you've ignored the signs, and that's okay. But you have to come to grips with the reality that you're letting your emotions get the best of you and your judgment, and that's okay. Clearly, and I feel like anybody who has any kind of experience doing technical analysis at all could see that clearly this is a bearish formation that you're going to go lower. Where are we going to go? We're going to go over it again. From a low here on the 23rd of April to a high here, when you go below the 236 like this, okay? If you find support right there, okay, fine. You start to grind it out like this, not fine. You're likely, like 95% likely, okay? Very, very certain to go down to the 382, which would be at 00295 on this chart at least, right? If we're looking at it on Bybit, it might be a different one, and Bybit does have more volume, so let's just use that real quick. Low to high here, 00293. Right around that area still though, right? Just below 003. With powerful moves, okay, there's multiple things. This is not, none of these things is just a guarantee in themselves. Just because you find a high doesn't mean you're guaranteed 95% likely to go to the 382. No, that's not what happens, right? You could bounce at the 236. I'd say it's like 80% of the time that you go to the 382, but sometimes you bounce off the 236. It happens. Whenever you do this, then it's like a 95% chance that you will go down there, right? And then also in very strong moves, here's another kind of condition for you. In very strong moves, you expect to find support at the 382. Doesn't mean you can't go lower. You absolutely could. Maybe you go to your 0.5. Maybe you go to your golden ratio. Those are all fine targets, and if you go down there, you're not in trouble. You're not in jeopardy of this thing going to zero. It just went a little bit lower than what I would expect personally. I do accept that $0.0022 could be an area to go to. But I accept that as a possibility, but I expect this possibility of 0.0029 to be support. Typically with strong moves, and that's a 10x in a month and a week, it's a pretty strong move, you will find support directly off the 382. It's very typical with your first interaction of the 382 to wick below it and then come back up and close above it. But with strong moves like this, I would expect that you're going to bounce off the 382, especially so when you're showing support at the 236 the way that you are. You are showing support. You're grinding it out. I mean, so you're whittling it away day by day by day, of course. I guess you're not really showing support. You're showing weakness here. Here you were showing support. But especially so when you're having a tough time getting below the 236, I feel like that only amplifies the odds that you don't go below the 382. Sometimes things are weird. Sometimes you can, find support maybe just above it, whatever. And if there's a reason for that, maybe there's a catalyst. Maybe there's not enough sellers, too many buyers. Perhaps it's more simple than that. You just have prior all-time highs right there, There could be reasons to not reach the 382. But just understand it's very improbable. Like I'm talking about 5% or less of a likelihood that you don't see 0029. It's very improbable that you don't go down from here. You're at least going to 0034, but probably lower than that, right? That's the expectation here. Volume's dying off. You're in this relative consolidation phase, and volume's dying off. As volume dies off, you know you're about to break out. When you break out, you would expect volume to come in, and I do think volume will come in. It's not going to be like this. I mean, maybe it's like that. Wouldn't that be great? If it's like that, you might actually dump through, guys. But some above average volume, or at least more than what we've seen over the past like couple of weeks now throughout this range, more volume than we've seen throughout this range, will come in to validate the breakout one way or another. And then once we have that come in, you'll find support. You'll probably find resistance back up here. You'll find a higher low, maybe at your all-time high, your prior all-time high at 0034, 0033, whatever. And then you'll slowly continue to move up, right? You'll find support and resistance at key areas, whatever. And then once you get up to this zone, you should be looking to rip and run as ZBCN has done in the past, right? That's the expectation. Okay. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but that's what I know about fibs. And fibs, the Fibonacci tool, we haven't used anything else but the fibs in this analysis, right? And to be fair, a little bit of price analysis too, comparing prior resistance and support areas. You don't need much more than that. That's why I love the fibs. But if you want to compare other things, you can. The daily RSI went above the 50, gasped for air, couldn't maintain above there. You're living below the 50, bearish. You had an uptrend. It was beautiful. It was a nice uptrend. Higher lows, higher highs. You had a very nice uptrend here in the RSI. You broke out of it. Bearish. You just broke out of it. You think you're done? No. That's not what's going to happen. No. You got lower to go. You'll at least go to where you found support before. You see these areas that you found support? It should be no coincidence that this is the area that you'll go to, right there around 40 to 35. A lot of cryptos and stocks like to do that. Maybe you go to the oversold zone. Whatever. It's okay if you do. You look at the stochastics, we're oversold here. It's bearish when you're in the oversold zone, and it's like the RSI to a certain degree, but don't treat it like the RSI. They're very different indicators, okay? You can live in the you don't expect this kind of reaction. You expect this kind of reaction, this kind of reaction, this kind of reaction, right? It's not common to do what you've done here, which is go, and again, we'll amplify this in two different ways, or signify. We'll show the significance of this in two different ways. It's not common once you're oversold and you get out of the oversold zone, which is what you did, to go back into the oversold zone. Typically, you range between oversold, overbought, oversold, overbought. It's very typical. That's not typical with the RSI. That's why they're different, right? But whenever you do this, whenever you do get out of the oversold zone and then you come back in, that's exceptionally bearish times that you see. Just like when you get overbought, you expect to go all the way to the oversold zone, but if you hold this is exceptionally bullish times. And I wonder what happened here. Well, that was an exceptionally bullish move, right? Stochastics getting oversold, and it looks like you're pointed to the downside now. You can rely on this getting into the oversold zone. That implies lower prices to come. RSI, we already went over that. Let's go over the daily MACD now. Daily MACD. You've got, is that a higher low? I think that's a higher low right there. Is it a double? Kind of a double bottom. Yeah, the histogram's got a higher low there. You're dying off in bearish momentum. That's good to see. This move is probably near its completion as far as time goes, as far as effort goes, right? But you have lower to go. It's very common with these oscillators to go to the zero line and find support. Sometimes you even go a little bit below it and you find support, but typically the orange line stays above it. Even if the blue line gets below it, that's support off the zero line, right? The zero line is right here, this dashed line, right there in the middle. What separates the threshold between the green and the red on the MACD histograms there. The histograms are these things. The oscillators are these things, right? A little terminology there for you. You'll probably find support here, which again implies that you've got a little bit more to go relative to this, and it's all relative, right? This is not like a 10% drop here doesn't mean in the MACD that would reflect in a 10% drop in the S&P. It would be different. It's all relative. It's all relative to the move that you have. Relative to what we see here, we probably have just a little bit more to go. What would that be? Well, if we go down to 2.9, that seems like just a little bit more to go. And I think that'd be enough to get this MACD right down at the zero, build some more bearish momentum. When you're building bearish momentum, the histogram is dark colored. When it's decaying, it's light colored. You'll build some more. You'll get a lower low in the MACD, or sorry, a higher low in the MACD with lower lows in the price. That'll be bullish divergence, right? Bullish divergence paired with probably some bullish divergence in the stochastics, paired with the area in the RSI that you've bounced from not just once, not just twice, not just 3 times, but a handful of times throughout your history. You're set up for a perfect storm to recover once you see prices a little bit lower. But if you're going to go lower, again, what would make the most sense? This is where we use our fibs. You can use multiple fibs. Take the low to high. This is classic. Simple, elegant, not too fancy. Low to high. Well, the next area is the 382. Statistically probable that we're going to go there. You can overlap another fib. This one, if you want to get a little fancy and use extensions. Why did I talk? Get a little fancy and use extensions. I don't know why that accent came out. High to low here. You can deduce maybe an area that might make sense based off of this. Well, here we are at the 236, or no, sorry, the 1618 of this fib, and maybe I'll delete this so that we can just look at this one by itself. We're in the extensions. The next areas would be 00342 to 0029. That 0029 level is lining up with this. Congruence might logically deduce the idea that we do go to this area, right? You look for stuff like that, and it helps. You could use either one of those fibs by themselves, but using them together is very helpful. You could throw another fib on there to be even more helpful. Use your most relative pivot from a low to a high, discernible pivot, right? Low to high. Golden ratio, 1618, right there, you guys. It's all pointing to the same stuff. And the smaller the fib, the less significant it is. So your golden ratio is here, the 1618 on this very small fib. And the golden ratio is significant, but because it's a small fib, it's a little less significant. Maybe you disrespect it. You wick through it a little bit. And that could make sense because you have more significant fibs detailing this area just below that as support. You've got all the reasons to find support at 003 to 0029. It's the writings on the wall. None of this other stuff, none of these other indicators are necessary, but they help validate it. They just help validate it. That's all I'm trying to say. So I don't know if I have anything else that I want to say. 1 hour time frame. Rejecting the zero line, looking like it wants to go lower, building bearish momentum. Volumes coming in as you're dropping, bearish. Stochastics want to get there. RSI is about to get oversold. You should see your final onslaught to the downside over the coming days. That's my expectation. 4 hour time frame, rejecting the 50 twice. Stochastics oversold, couldn't get overbought. That's bearish. Getting back to the oversold zone, doubling down on that bearishness. The MACD was about to cross bullish and it just couldn't do it. Now you're building bearish momentum. All bearish things. Lower to go. That's all I got. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. Absolutely, ZBCN will recover. Absolutely, it will see higher prices, new all-time highs. It's just not right now. Give it some time. It's okay. You did a 10x in a month and a week. Your corrective phase lasted 1-2 weeks. That's your low. It took 2 weeks. You're not getting off that easy. You're not going to get a 10x in a month and a week and then 2 weeks of correction. You're off that easy. What do I know? This is my third bull cycle, but that's not what happens. You'd be lucky. You'd be very fortunate. In peak alt season, maybe. That's kind of what happens in peak alt season. But we're not in peak alt season, you guys. Not yet. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. Bye-bye.